Today we're going to be looking at Good Die Young in the color All in This Together. That is not blood, by the way, that's hair dye. So first thing you may notice is that my swatches are labeled 1 through 12. Those are not synonymous with hair levels. I do different video clips and pictures and such throughout the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. Also, my swatches are not virgin hair except the number 4 swatch that is black. So 1 is green, 2 is gray, 3 is a natural red, again 4 is black, 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde, and then 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So I'm going to start by taking the color directly from the container and I'll put it at the top of each swatch. Then some people do like to dilute their dyes, so we'll do a diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Please keep in mind everyone's hair, of course, is different, which means everyone's hair will take colors differently. Plus, different screens and monitors and such can make colors look different, especially undertones. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to do an 8-to-1 ratio. So that's going to be 1 part of the dye to 8 parts diluter. I do get asked sometimes what diluter is. So the short, simple answer I like to give is that it's essentially something that lightens the color of a semi-permanent dye. Now each brand usually does sell their own version, which can be nice to use because it'll keep the same consistency as your color. But because I have so many different colors and brands and such, I always just use a plain white conditioner as my diluter. Alright, I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I'll meet you back here and we can do some comparisons. So I would like to just remind everyone again that my swatches are going to be more porous than virgin hair. Virgin hair usually will kind of struggle to take semi-permanent color, and then if it does, it can wash out pretty quickly. So how my swatches turn out compared to your hair could be very different, especially if you have virgin hair. But that being said, this seems to be quite a pigmented color. So if you are looking to try a color over virgin hair, this one will probably get you a better result than some other colors might. Just might not look exactly like my swatches. So one originally was the green swatch. So overall, I would say that it turned out a little bit darker on the green swatch compared to like the blonde swatch, and a little bit more maybe like smoky. This is a pretty cool toned red, and over the green, it actually leans even more cool toned. Like it kind of I would say neutralize some of that red. So it almost has a slightly more purpley look. Not saying it looks purple though, it still looks quite red. 2 was the gray swatch. Now sometimes that one can look pretty smoky as well. I would say it looks similar to the 12. So the 12 and the 2 on the direct dye portion look pretty similar to the platinum blonde swatch. It's more so the diluted section looks a touch more muted, but not quite as muted as the green swatch. 3 was the natural red. On the direct dye portion, I think it looks similar to the maybe 6 or 7, the like brownish swatches. They all were deepened by the color, and I'd say all took the burgundy pretty well. 6 looks a little bit darker than I think 3 and 7, but that makes sense since the swatch itself was darker. And then the diluted section for number 3 looks pretty similar to number 7. Sometimes it being a natural red, it can look a little different under the color, but I'm assuming because they're both in the same like warm tone family, the natural red color didn't really seem to have that big of an effect on how the color turned out. So on the diluted section for 3 and 7, it's a little bit darker, kind of berry red. 4 was black. I do not see a difference on that one. 5 was the really dark brown. Now the direct dye portion definitely looks darker than it already was. I don't know if I want to quite say it looks black, but it does lean that dark to where maybe some people would think it looks black. And then the diluted section I think is about the same lightness as it was before, but the undertone shifted, so it definitely leans much more warm. You see a lot more red in there than you did before. The diluted section of number 6 also has a very berry undertone kind of look. I think that kind of continues on in most of the swatches until you get to maybe 10 and 11. They get more and more red, but this is such a cool toned red that I think it's probably hard to avoid any of those berry undertones. 8, 9, and 10 all look pretty similar as well. So that kind of tells me that you probably don't have to worry about lightening your hair up too much for a color like this, unless you're going for a specific look with diluting the color. If you ignore the diluted section, this color is pretty dark, and I would definitely put it in the burgundy category. With the direct dye portion, I'd actually say it looks the same as 9 and 10 as well. It's more so the diluted section that looks a little bit more red than before. And as for comparisons, this color is actually pretty unique to my collection. I feel like burgundy should be more easy to find color, but looking through all my stuff, I really don't have that many. So I think a lot of you will be happy to see a color like this, especially with fall coming. So neither of my comparisons are going to be that similar, but I wanted to start with Lunar Tides in the color Bloodmoon. This is comparable to number 12, 11, 10, and 9. And I'm sure you could have guessed, but this was supposed to be a comparison for the diluted section, so I am just going to move them down really quickly. So the reason I chose this color in particular is because, at least with Lunar Tides, they do have a red that leans slightly more warm. That one is called True Lust. And then they also have a sort of burgundy-ish, kind of reddish color called Cran, but that one is much more cool than the Bloodmoon. Bloodmoon is kind of right in the middle. I mostly wanted this so you could see just how cool toned this color looks. In retrospect, I probably should have compared this to the Cran swatches. The only problem is with Cran I notice that that one will look much more warm tone at first, but very quickly will go cooler in undertone because I used it on my husband's hair. So I don't know if my swatches are that accurate for this kind of thing, but I will probably post the comparisons on Patreon, so you can look for that link down below. My next comparison I would say is the closest thing I have to a burgundy that's not like a mix or anything. And it's from a small business brand that I got off of Etsy called Snott, and the color is Drop Dead Red. So this is comparable to number 12, 11, 10, and 9. It's probably harder to tell on the direct dye portions, again, because they are so dark. They look a lot more similar up there, but then you look at the diluted sections and you can really see the difference. In my observation, I think I'd say that Snott is obviously more warm in undertone and a little bit more natural as well, so it's a little bit more muted, whereas the all in this together is a lot more saturated. So now I'd like to look at the before and after clips. Those, as well as everything past this point in the video, are all going to be done in natural lighting.
I slipped up, thoughts I can't
I hope my video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so very much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.